All right, y'all. So I wanted to talk about one last thing that we see in the movie Up that is just another concept that I would like to talk about. So in the movie, at the very beginning, when the boy is young and he meets the girl, and she's young, and he falls through the floor and breaks his arm, and then she comes in and she comes to his house and like climbs up to his room and like sends in through the door a little message for him with his balloon, and it looks like that, right? It's a balloon with a stick tied to it, and here we see it. We'll see it one more time, sort of sailing across the room. Now we see this later in the movie as well, like at the end of the little opening scene when they're older and she is not feeling well and she's in the hospital. He comes to her with a balloon, and he also sends it across the room like that. But in both of these cases, we see the balloon is floating and the stick is floating, but but it's not getting higher or lower. It's just staying exactly where it is. Now the reason for that is because the balloon, here's the balloon. I'm going to draw a little picture of it. The balloon, in both cases, I should make this a blue balloon. I'm going to make this a blue. I'll just fill it in blue, just in honor of the movie where it's a blue balloon in both cases. They make it so it's a blue balloon and it has a stick, and so this is one positive. We've already talked about how balloons represent positives. This is one positive. And we've already talked about negatives, and what we see here is we have the stick, and the stick is brown, so I'll use the brown stick here. Put a little twig on it, I guess. So we have this stick, and the stick is tied to the balloon, and the reason that they don't float up or down is because they happen to be in what's called equilibrium. So they are, so this is one, so the stick is pulling down just as hard as the balloon is pulling up, which means that neither one of them is going anywhere. So this makes this, so this is one negative. And they're both, the reason the balloon is not moving is because the positive, which I will make, the positive is the same size as the negative. So they don't go up and they don't go down. It just stays at the exact same level that it is. He tied it at this level and it just floated right across. This balloon just floats right across the room. So we have what's called one positive and one negative. So if we add those together, when we combine one positive and one negative, what do we get? Well, let's go through our logic, and let's say that we have 1 positive 1 plus negative 1. Now we already know from looking at our our lessons yesterday that when you add a negative, those don't match, and so that's the same as it going down 1. So this is going to go down 1, and when you start at 1 and you go down 1, you end up at 0. So 1 plus negative 1, 1 plus negative 1 equals 0. Okay, so what if it was two balloons? What if it was two balloons? Here's a balloon. There's balloon 1. Here's balloon 2. And then we have two sticks. So we have stick 1. Okay, and we have stick 2. And both of these are tied together. So if we have two sticks and then we have two balloons that are tied to them, again, we have plus a positive and a positive, and we have a negative and a negative. So we have up here, we have two positives and we have two negatives. And 2 positives plus 2 negatives, we're going to do that math. We're going to do our math again. We have positive 2 plus negative 2. And that is going to be equal to, well, let's have a look. I notice again that these are not matching. So that means it is going to go down. So if we start at 2 and we go down 2, we end up at 0. I'll even draw a picture of it for you this time. Here's a number line. And we'll say this is 0. Here is 1, 2, 3. And here's -1, -2, -3. And if I start at 2, here's me starting at 2 and going down 2, 1, 2 spaces, I end up at 0. That's where I end up. Right, my final spot is 0. And the same thing for 1 minus 1. So what we have when we have the same amount of positives as we do negatives, we are going to end up with, we are going to always end up with 0 as our result. So this is what's called a zero pair. So let's get that written down. So a zero pair, any zero pair, oops, how did I get the wrong? I need to get the right thing here. Any zero pair a zero pair is any, I'm really struggling already with my writing again. Okay. Zero pair is any number combined with its opposite. So, for example, let's see. Let's make some zero pairs here. We'll do 10 plus -10. That is going to equal 0. Let's do -7 plus +7. That equals 0. Let's do -836 plus +836. That's going to equal 0. So all these numbers, just when you combine anything with its opposite, it just totals out to 0 every time. So this actually comes in handy for us, and can understanding this thinking can really help us solve problems. So I like this balloon diagram for a bunch of reasons, or this balloon idea for a bunch of reasons.